Found these scrolls, have you? And brought your boots? There will be cold. I hope you mind not. We must begin early. Earlier than time. We must begin in another world that lived on this one like a brilliant crown. And it was ruled by... What was his name? I forget. I forget so easily now. But he has another name that cannot be forgot. Because it is the root of this world, and this time. Pay no mind to the chill in the window as I speak it. Ice Heart. Ice Heart. Welcome, I'm Wasabi, and today I wanted to do a quick review of the Thawing Kingdom Zine, a system-neutral campaign setting in a forgotten, frozen land now thawing, exposing ancient locations to be explored and stories to uncover. Just want to give a quick update to the few people who are waiting on the Conspiracy of Ravens review. It is still coming. I just had a lot more to say about it than I realized, and it'll be out hopefully early next month. Anyway, let's get into this zine. The first thing is the art and layout. Now, I don't know if this is a compliment or an insult, but I can't tell if this art was commissioned or if it's public domain or if it's a mixture of both. Either way, it's very fitting with the mood and tone of the content. The landscape pictures look dreamlike and melancholy and mostly abandoned, giving a dark fairy tale vibe to the entire zine. The art pieces throughout are not a consistent style, but all are tonally fitting, and I couldn't find one that seemed out of place. As for the layout, not an inch of this small zine has wasted space. The book is broken up into different sections that are all about a single page, 3 pages long. Everything you could want as a quick booster for this setting is in the zine, and it doesn't waste your time by having it shoved between giant lore sections or clunky storytelling. Also, pretty much every section has a rollable table for ideas to spark in your head, or just give you the tools you need for a game. A solid presentation all around. Now, onto the content of the zine. A big influence of the zine, which should be pretty obvious from both the introductory paragraph and the presentation, is that the creator was heavily influenced by the mood and some of the aesthetics of Dark Souls. They even say so in the Kickstarter. I swear I'm not doing the reviewer says it's like a Dark Souls thing meme, I swear. To give a quick synopsis, the Ice King 500 years ago was a massive dick who was so hateful that his heart shriveled up and cursed him. I'm not super clear on how that works, but that's not relevant. What is relevant is that this guy's organ betrayed him so hard that the sun was banished from his kingdom and his land froze over. Now, the 500-year sentence has been served and the sun has returned, causing the land to thaw. This land is now dotted with villages and communities, separated by massive lakes created by all the melting. Many more settlements are either still in the process of thawing or are still frozen beneath the ice. Crumbling castles encapsulated in ice can be found, holding untold secrets and dangers. There is a table of 20 marked locations with a sentence or two on them to be expanded upon, as well as 20 general encounters, more designed for random encounters or even more inspiration. Following that thread, there's also a table for 10 traveler encounters and 12 wildlife creatures. On top of that, there is a table for 100 waterlogged items and a table of 10 mysterious treasures. These can all be rolled on or just plucked out for your campaign, and you could easily build the first bones of a story with them. Several factions and groups are listed, from humble knights who call themselves the Goose Lords to an Industrial Revolution-inspired faction filled to the brim with abhorrently imperialistic people obsessed with metal, machines, and fire just south of the Thawing Kingdom. Though not subtle in the least, the modernizing and fiery Draylent faction makes for a great contrast to the mostly abandoned and quiet Cold Wastes. They are not presented in an amicable light, but I don't think they necessarily need to be played like the Fire Nation. I would say they are more interesting if played closer to a crackhead energy NCR from Fallout. I think playing them that way allows for more opportunities, such as being a source of quests, intrigue, while also being a threat that can help flesh out the world by the conflicts they create. The zine claims that nobody from Draylent would dare go to the Thawing Kingdom, but I think that's silly. Here's a faction that literally killed God with an unknown weapon, has a servile cast of homunculi operating all the machinery, and they also have sorcerers who mastered the art of pyromancy, and you're telling me they can't interact with the campaign setting they're a part of in a meaningful way? I would include them in a strong but stretched thin colonial capacity, and I think you have a lot to work with here. Moving on to the monsters and magic, there is some really fun stuff here. First, for the monsters, there are some visually unique ones, such as the half-thawed, zombie-like creatures who still have parts of their body frozen and desire heat. This is a fantastic enemy idea for the setting, as they are completely dangerous by both being attracted to your fires and torches as well as your body heat. It's also a threat that is easily customizable to keep it fresh. Animals can be half-thawed, and the way they froze can determine how they fight, such as blocks of ice on their hands being used like sledgehammers, or icicles on their body ready to impale you with their cold embrace. There are a few other monsters as well, but the only other one I'm going to mention to keep this short are the drakes. I was going to mention the devils, but since they are basically a friendly species of red-skinned horned creatures with their own culture, they belong with the other factions. As for the drakes, there are two kinds, lesser and greater. Both are like fishy crocodiles that breathe out sickening fumes from the decomposing fish in their stomachs and turn the water and land around them toxic. The lesser drakes are basically dragon-shaped seagulls that can range between the size of a dog to a cow, scavenging off of meals of the greater drakes and eating the local wildlife. They amount to dangerous pests to be taken seriously. The great drakes are wingless and fat and grow bigger by eating as much as they can. They can be found in the sewers of cities or in deep swamps. These are absolutely not to be trifled with unless you have a solid plan and lots of people. As for the magic, there is a table of ice spells and a table of pyromancy spells. This type of magic is really my style, as it feels very much like sword and sorcery magic over high fantasy. It's violent and cruel for the most part, and one spell even costs a human life to use it, and the closest thing to a healing spell is for cauterizing a wound. It fits the tone, and even if it may not be easily usable with whatever system you're using, it's a good measure for what spells in the system you're using should be included and what should be excluded. And that's the Thawing Kingdom. The zine goes more in depth on a few other things that I skipped over, including some smaller factions I didn't mention, the ice itself being more than just the harsh terrain, and a few other details, but this is the summation of everything inside. For only $6 USD, or $8 if you want to grab the 2-page adventure, The Swan Song, this is an absolute steal. It has some great ideas and some really wacky aspects, and I think more people should give it a look. I'll post a link on where to buy it in the description down below. As for what systems to use with this, I plan to use Forbidden Lands as the mechanics and tone fit well for it. I could also see Old School Essentials or really any rules light OSR system being a solid choice as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the review, and I plan to cover more zines in the future, so let me know if you like more of those. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.